The Golden Handcuffs. The salary you receive is just a bribe to make you forget your dreams. Think about it. It's the exact amount of money required for you to show up again on Monday morning, but never quite enough to allow you to never show up again. It's the Golden Handcuff, a system designed to provide just enough security to prevent escape, but not enough to build true wealth. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, the degree, the hard work, the promotions, yet your bank account feels like it's under a glass ceiling, you aren't imagining it. You aren't lazy. You're trapped. And today, I'm going to show you the cold, hard data of how this cage was built, why 2026 is looking even tighter, and the one exit door the system hopes you never find. Let's look at the numbers the system doesn't put on the news. Currently, real disposable income has remained almost entirely flat, but if you look at the official charts, they'll tell you you're richer than ever. While headline wage growth looks higher than pre-pandemic levels, it's a total mirage. Why? Because households are being forced to absorb explosive costs and necessities that don't always show up in the standard consumer price index. I'm talking about the invisible killers, healthcare premiums that jump 10% annually, home insurance rates that have doubled in some regions, and the crushing weight of elder care that can wipe out a generation of savings in a single year. Think about it. When was the last time you felt like a 5% raise actually gave you 5% more freedom? You didn't buy a boat with that extra money, you just managed to keep the lights on and the deductible paid. We aren't spending on discretionary items because we're confident in the future. We're spending on survival because we're constrained by the present. In fact, while the overall economy is projected to grow at a modest 1.8%, the cost of simply being stable, having a roof, staying healthy, and keeping the car running is rising 3 times faster. Does that feel like progress to you? Or does it feel like you're running a race where the finish line moves back every time you take a step? You're on a treadmill where the speed is constantly increasing, but the distance to your actual goals stays exactly the same. You might be running faster, sweating more, and working longer hours, but you aren't moving an inch closer to that dream of true financial independence. The system is intentionally extracting your margin, that little bit of breathing room you worked so hard for, specifically to protect its own stability. It needs your labor and your debt to keep the engine turning, and it knows that as long as you're stuck on that treadmill, you're too tired to look for the exit. The question you have to ask yourself is simple: how long can you keep up this pace before the machine wins? But here is where it gets chilling. Corporations have discovered a financial cheat code that essentially turns the workforce into a fuel source rather than a partner. In the third quarter alone, corporate profits jumped by a staggering $166 billion. You'd think that kind of surplus would lead to a hiring spree or a massive wave of innovation, right? Wrong. Here is the kicker. They didn't do it by building new factories or investing in the future. In fact, actual business investment fell. They did it by perfecting a process I call corporate cannibalism. They are doing more with less, which is just a polite boardroom way of saying they are extracting every last drop of labor out of you while keeping the payroll as thin as possible. Think about your own office or job site. How many open roles have been left unfilled while the work was simply dumped onto your desk? That's not a mistake, it's the strategy. This is the K-shaped economy in action, and it's creating 2 different worlds. On the upward arm of the K, you have the asset holders and corporate boards who are soaring on record equity growth and stock buybacks. They are literally getting wealthier by the second. But on the downward arm, that's where the middle-income worker lives, facing a brutal affordability crisis where the price of a home or a bag of groceries has outpaced their stagnant paycheck for years. And if you're part of the younger generation trying to break into this system, it's even tougher. We are seeing a massive shift where jobs with high AI exposure are experiencing a sudden, violent slowdown in growth. Why would a CEO hire a junior analyst at $70,000 a year when they can funnel that same money into a software license that doesn't need health insurance or a 401k? Before we get to the roadmap for the exit, I have a challenge for you, and it's one that most people are too afraid to actually complete. I want you to pull up your bank app right now and look at your last 3 months of spending. Don't just glance at the total, I want you to audit the flow. Comment below with your honest breakdown. What percentage of your income is leaking out into necessities like insurance, car notes, and rent versus being funneled into future assets like investments or your own education? Most people watching this are sitting at a 90-10 ratio. They are working 40 hours a week just to maintain a lifestyle they don't even enjoy that much. If you're spending $3,000 a month on overhead and only $300 on your freedom, you aren't building a life. You're just servicing a debt to the system. Write your ratio in the comments right now. Be honest. Is it 80-20, 95-5? Seeing those numbers in black and white is the first step to facing the cold reality of the trap you've been living in. It's a pattern interrupt that forces you to realize you've been trading your most valuable asset, your time, for depreciating liabilities. Now, if you're tired of being nothing more than a profitable line item on someone else's balance sheet, we have to go deeper. Why is it so hard to break that 90-10 cycle, even when you know it's killing your future? To answer that, we need to talk about the psychological wall that keeps you there, the invisible barrier that makes the cage feel comfortable. The greatest barrier to wealth isn't a lack of capital or a lack of opportunity. It's a deep-seated biological addiction to certainty. Think about it. Your brain is a survival machine, and to that machine, the unknown represents death. This is why a steady paycheck acts like a recurring microdose of dopamine and safety. It's a chemical signal that tells your amygdala you are protected for another 2 weeks. But here is the cold, hard truth. That feeling of safety is a hallucination. It is a sedative that keeps you compliant while your potential atrophies. Why do you think people stay in cubicles they despise, under managers they don't respect, for 40 years? It's because the perceived risk of leaving feels like jumping off a cliff, even when the ground they're standing on is actively crumbling. We've been conditioned to believe the 9-to-5 is the safe route. But in reality, it is the most dangerous gamble you will ever take. You are essentially betting your entire existence on the hope that a corporate board of directors, people who don't know your name, won't find a way to replace your role with a line of code or a more desperate version of you from halfway across the globe. Think about the guy who worked 20 years at the same firm, only to be let go via a mass Zoom call because the quarterly projections were off by 2%. Where is his security now? He spent 2 decades building someone else's dream and left with nothing but a resume and a sense of betrayal. You are trading your most finite, non-renewable asset, your time, for a currency that is being devalued by the hour. Does that sound like a winning trade to you? The comfort you feel right now is actually a cage. It stops you from developing the muscles required to survive in the real world. Real security doesn't come from a signature on a paycheck. It comes from the raw, undeniable ability to generate value independent of any one master. It's the difference between being a zoo lion who gets fed a steak every day through a fence and a mountain lion who knows how to hunt. If the zookeeper disappears, the zoo lion starves. The hunter thrives. Stop betting on the zookeeper. The only way to win is to break the addiction to the microdose and start building a system where you own the output. Are you ready to stop being a line item on someone else's balance sheet and start becoming the asset? To escape the gravity of the middle class, you have to undergo a fundamental psychological shift. You must transition from a worker mindset to an owner mindset. Think about the questions you ask yourself every day. The worker asks, how can I get a raise? How can I impress my boss to get a 3% bump next year? But the owner asks a completely different question. What assets can I own that grow while I sleep? Look at the K-shaped economy again. Do you really think the affluent are working more hours than you? Do you think they're grinding out 80-hour weeks just to stay ahead? No, they are holding assets, real estate, stocks, or automated businesses that benefit from the very inflation that is currently killing your bank account. While your dollar loses value, their assets inflate in price. It's a rigged game if you're playing by the old rules. In 2026, this gap isn't just going to stay put, it's projected to widen into a canyon. Consider this. While traditional manufacturing and administrative sectors are stagnating or being replaced by automation, fields like specialized software development and healthcare technology are projected to grow 5 times faster than the national average. Why would you keep fishing in a pond that's drying up? You have to position yourself in the path of where the money is flowing, not where it's been sitting for the last 50 years. Imagine two people. One works overtime at a retail bank, hoping for a promotion. The other spends their weekends building a niche digital product or acquiring equity in a growing startup. 10 years from now, who do you think has the leverage? This isn't just about picking up a side hustle or driving for a rideshare app to make ends meet. That's just trading more of your life for more of their paper. This is about ownership. It's about the ownership of your high-leverage skills, the ownership of your time, and most importantly, the ownership of equity. If you don't own a piece of the machine, you are simply a part that will eventually be replaced. The question is, are you going to keep maintaining the engine, or are you going to start owning the factory? Here is your roadmap out, and I need you to pay close attention because this isn't just theory. It's the mechanical blueprint for your exit. Pillar 1. Skill stacking. The world doesn't pay for general talent anymore. It pays for rare combinations. Don't just be good at a job. That makes you a commodity. Instead, you need to combine an industry-leading skill, like AI implementation, data architecture, or high-level sales, with a specific high-stakes niche like healthcare or luxury logistics. Think about it. A generic copywriter is replaceable by a bot, but a copywriter who understands clinical trial regulations and AI-driven lead gene, that person is unterminable. You aren't just a worker. You're a specialized solution that the company is terrified to lose. Pillar 2. The 20% rule. This is where most people fail because they let lifestyle creep eat their future. If you are spending more than 80% of your income on necessities, the car, the rent, the subscriptions, you are officially in the danger zone. You are one bad Tuesday away from total collapse. You must aggressively, almost ruthlessly, cut your overhead or scale your income until a minimum of 20% is flowing directly into assets. We're talking stocks, cash-flowing real estate, or your own side business. Ask yourself, is that upgraded apartment worth another 5 years in the cubicle? Probably not. Pillar 3. Build an exit velocity. This is the most critical step. You need to calculate exactly what your freedom number is down to the last cent. This is the precise amount of monthly passive cash flow needed to cover those rising necessity costs. Most people have no idea what their price tag is, so they stay trapped forever. But once your assets generate enough to cover your healthcare, your insurance, and your rent, the bribe no longer works on you. The moment your passive income matches your survival expenses, the power dynamic shifts entirely. You aren't asking for permission anymore. You're free. Which of these pillars are you missing right now? Because until you have all three, you're just a passenger in someone else's vehicle. The system wants you to wait for a raise that will never come and a retirement that keeps moving further away. But you know better now. You see the trap. The question is, what are you going to do about it before 2026? If you're ready to stop being a line item and start being an owner, hit subscribe and join us. We explore the deep mechanics of wealth and freedom every week. Don't just work for the system. Build a life that the system can't touch. I'll see you in the next one.